Dragonfolk, it is time for the final round in Swiss, where I am actually met against a prior opponent, none other than the champion of last season, Row 2. So let's go ahead and get into the game, check it out. I am on Dash, as I've always been, and they will be on Azalea. Alrighty, getting into our final game of Swiss here. I am faced with none other than our prior finals opponent, Row 2 here, and champion of the Heavy Hitters Clash Bash season. Currently, they are looking to still take Azalea to the top. I had faced this Azalea in our prior match last season, but this time I'm running something a little bit more directly higher power aggro focused. So I'm curious whether or not I can go ahead and take it home here. Again, a lot of the situation is just going to be try to push a bunch of damage through. My weapon comes in for 4, so a frailty token doesn't really stop that a whole lot. I don't often arsenal a whole lot, so inertia doesn't hurt. I would say probably the only thing that would mess me up here is tons of blood rot pox, or also just a red in the ledger. Red in the ledger is unfortunately the aggro nightmare, so we are certainly going to have to make sure that we are not walking into any of those situations. So I go ahead and start it off here. I am going to be using the hyperdriver to start. Again, kind of really want to just make sure I have very consistent turns, because that is what makes for a good dash. You know, you want to make sure you're having those resources so you can always push this stuff through. Unfortunately for me, looks a whole lot like I have nothing but an all red hand, 2 red zipper hits and 2 red panel beaters. So it is not a good place. My opponent goes ahead and does their Azalea thing, gets a Spire sniping in their arsenal, and they're going to go ahead and opt some cards, check some stuff out. They went ahead and put a card on top, which means it's got to be an arrow that's worth anything at this point. And knowing my luck, it's probably going to be a red in the ledger, because that is exactly what would go down in this case for me. And it is a red in the ledger. So my turn, even though it was just being able to, throw a couple things out, now I quite literally can't do nearly anything on my turn. So I block 3 here, none of my armor blocks. So I take 5 and now can only do 1 action on my turn. They don't have any equipment that blocks, which is also very interesting, because that means that I don't really get to utilize the power of this deck, which is making sure my opponents can't block with their armor. They're already not going to block with their armor or block at all, so it's not really a matter to them. But I go ahead and swing 5, so we kind of traded pretty well there. I just have to hope that I don't run into a red in the ledger again. But here comes an infecting shot here. It's probably going to get Snapdragon Scalered if it goes, which it does there. I want to kind of not block a whole bunch of stuff here, because I do have things to do on my turn. But now that I'm thinking about it, this is a lot of power coming in for this turn. Coming in for 5, and then going ahead and pumping up another infecting shot and coming in for even more is pretty huge, because that's another 6 onto this infecting shot. This will come in for 11, unless of course they decide to Azalea and do that, which it looks like they are. They're going to use that ragamuffin hat to put a arrow on the top of their deck, and then they are going to more than likely use the Azalea ability to swap it into one of the cards on the bottom there. Oh, they play knock. So they go ahead and get another red in the ledger. There it is. So now an 11 dominated red in the ledger. Another game I can't win. It is a very unfortunate thing to see. It looks like they kind of just all worked out really, really great for them. My turn is just block 3. See what I can do on my turn. I have to keep a blue unless I die to this blood rot pox. So right now our turn is pretty much just try to do as much damage as we can, but a 15-2 life lead definitely is far more terrifying than anything I personally could think of. So it looks like it's not going to go great for me here. I'm not a big fan of hitting the red in the ledger. I think it is definitely a card that is incredibly powerful in a 20 life format, but overall, we still want to make sure that we're just trying our best. You know, don't ever give up in a situation like this, even if it looks bleak. But all it takes now at this point is one dominated arrow and I lose. And if I know Ro, I know that this is happening, right? This is definitely going to be happening. You know, that's just what Azalea does. They make sure that they have a good arrow on top. And sometimes they have to blind arrow, and that works out for me. But honestly, even if they come in with a 12 power arrow or something of the sort, that is far, far, far more important. So here's a 9 power dominated spire sniping. I can only block with 3, and I lose to Ro in my final game of Swiss. And there you have it. My official record now, as far as the entirety of the Clash Bash MST season, is 2-4. So I am not going to be making top 8 this time around, which is very unfortunate. I just kind of wanted to try out one of my favorite things to play in Commoner and see how it worked out in Clash. Turns out it might need a little bit more tweaking than one would think. Unfortunately, we don't have access to certain things like a way to play like induction chambers or things like that. Otherwise, it might have been a different game, but unfortunately, you can't really win as an aggro player when the first 2 dominated arrows sent to you in a 20 health format are red in the ledger. So it is what it is. That's just how Azalea plays. And I'm certainly going to continue looking. I might even take Azalea under my own wing and try her out myself. I personally have never played Azalea, so I'd like to take her under my wing and see exactly how she plays, if she really is very good into most heroes, because it looks like, you know, a red in the ledger would stop a Zen. A red in the ledger would stop most heroes. I'd say like maybe Guardians are probably the harder ones to do this with, but even still, eventually they're going to run out of gas, right? Rangers are going to run out of gas, and Ro is not undefeated in this Clash Bash MST season. They do have 2 losses under their belt, but they will probably be moving on to the top 8. And I hope to get footage for the top 8 coming into this. But if I don't, we do have the FaB Clash Hub that is available. I believe I have a link to it down in the description below. You can go ahead and check the top 8 games there. They're always casted by a fantastic group of individuals. We have Will from the Table Pit. I know Ethan Van Sant did he did commentary for the finals of my game into Ro, believe it or not. Then we also have Mo Bogsley and Elaine and tons of other people. Great faces from the Flesh and Blood community coming out in full force to commentate the top 8 of the Clash Bash MST season. And I hope to see you all there. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do enjoy this content, please make sure to hit the like button down below. You can also subscribe to the channel, and that certainly helps out a lot. You can become a channel member. Channel members do get first access to our podcast, the Common Language Podcast, where we talk about things like Clash and Commoner and the general state of Flesh and Blood, and talking about the favorite things that we like to do in it as a casual player. So if that piques your fancy, you can go ahead and become a channel member. You get that podcast a little early, but I do release one every single week, so that is also available for you if you wish to check it out. But thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate your support, and I hope you had fun watching my games throughout the Part the Misfail Clash Bash season. I certainly wish that I tried a new hero. I wanted to try new into this format to see how she played out, but I'm not entirely sure. I think that might be what I do when we do our Rosetta themed Clash Bash, is make sure that I try a new hero and see how they play into the format. Just because, you know, I like Dash, but I already knew how to play Dash, and I'm not really trying to win in these events. Like, I'd love to win, obviously, but I think more so I'm trying to make sure to see what kind of decks I can run into individuals, and then that way I can get some good content for everybody to see how these heroes play in Clash and how they're planning on moving forward as a powerhouse into these budget formats. So Again, if you guys like all that, make sure to leave a comment down below. Tell me what you thought about my games into the Part the Mistveil season and who you're rooting for to see in the top 8, where we do our best of 3s as the top 8 battle it out to be the winner of the Clash Bash Part the Mistveil season. Thanks so much for watching, and continue to have fun in the flesh and blood. And I will see you all in our next season. Nerd out.